I've never seen anything like it. It's cool how I don't know if is that water dripping, beads of water dripping down those little strands.
It's mineral oil.
Fucking A, man.
Yeah.
That's sick.
I need to put more in it because it had an accident last year and I just haven't put more in it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna turn it off because it'll make that obnoxious noise the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool, man.
Welcome to Next to the Lamp. Man, we've been doing a lot of episodes lately, and I love it. It feels good to get back into it. 2024 did not record just completely radio silence, and I feel sorry for the fans about that. I know you guys come to see the guests, but you stay for me because I'm awesome, and I don't blame you guys. I don't blame you guys even a little bit. But one thing I do feel bad about is like you guys have to hear my voice. That's the worst part. But still, no 0 days. We just passed 15,000 downloads. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, audio
Congrats.
downloads anyway.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's kind of wild. Last year, YouTube wiped out my channel. So starting YouTube from scratch. So everybody like, subscribe, go to YouTube. Doesn't cost a thing. Doesn't cost a thing yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that big, but when I get to that point, I will be,
Got to start somewhere. And unfortunately, starting over is never fun.
Yeah. And that 2024 was the big reset, I say. It was like the meteor that murdered the dinosaurs. It's just a giant reset.
Yeah.
Today's guest is musical. Man, I have a lot of different words because I caught your show yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Do you usually travel with a band?
No. I logistically just doesn't make sense at this point. So it's just kind of solo dolo right now.
Okay, word.
Yeah.
That's not bad though.
Yeah, it's I'm used to traveling quite a bit, and definitely like my space, and especially I'm so busy at home, traveling around the country. You get a lot of downtime just driving, and alone with your thoughts, and just it's nice and peaceful. Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell them your name because I usually murder those.
My name is Zander Rodriguez. I'm a songwriter from Prescott, Arizona, which is a small mountain town up in the pines, about an hour and a half north of Phoenix. If you're going north on the I-17, instead of going straight up to Flagstaff, you go about halfway, cut west, and about 45 minutes in, you're there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not too bad. I have a couple friends that live in Phoenix.
Nice.
I don't go there.
Yeah, I try not to. I grew up there, and kind of got to experience all that, but summer times are pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Very brutal.
Because everywhere is like a fucking flat rock.
Yeah, it's just you're in a desert. Basically, they call it the valley, and it's just a flat grid. But a lot of people don't know. Once you start going north, you're just kind of rising in elevation. You start getting into mountains and just openness and forests, and just the Grand Canyon's there and whatnot. But all the surrounding area is just beautiful, and it's really, really just nice country up there.
Okay, I might have to go check it out. I do want to check out the country, because I want to be a touring musician, right?
Yeah.
So I will get to check it out at some point in time.
Well, I mean, here in Laramie, you can't really get more country.
Yeah.
This is my first time here, and it's just open and beautiful. And I drove from Salt Lake. I did a week in Salt Lake, and then I just took the 80 east basically, and open country, miles and miles.
It's great. Yeah. That's what I really like about Wyoming in general. It doesn't exist to most people. So, I'm originally from SoCal. So when my parents said we're moving to Wyoming, I was like, Wyoming, like California?
What part of SoCal?
San Bernardino.
San Bernardino, SB. All right. I spent about 10 years in Southern California. I was kind of bouncing around Long Beach, Huntington Beach, West LA.
Okay.
Spent a good amount of time in San Diego as well. Didn't live there, but traveled quite a bit down there and hung out.
Yeah, that's usually, just drive through San Bernardino, right? I wouldn't stop anywhere really.
Yeah,
Make
yeah,
sure you get fuel before you leave your place.
100%, 100%.
San Bernardino is crazy, man.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I moved here in 2001, so I don't imagine it's gotten better.
Yeah, and I didn't spend time there in the early 2000s, but if it's anything from what I remember, it's probably similar to your experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being on lockdown one time because somebody was shooting kids with a pellet gun
Mm.
just on the other side of the fence, just shooting kids.
Well, I mean, at least it was a pellet gun.
At least it was a pellet gun,
Yeah,
yeah.
not condoning that action whatsoever, but living in Long Beach and what I know of San Bernardino, yeah, that's yeah, a lot better than the other, you know,
Yeah.
type of gun.
Yeah. His range would have been a little bit further had he had a different weapon.
Yeah. That's the crazy part about, a lot of I would say cities, especially in California, is you have a lot of just not the best quality of life, and I think that the one thing that I liked about moving to Prescott and, kind of living in more open country and what I would imagine Laramie, you don't get a lot of, stupid people and stupid things like that. I feel for whatever reason the city kind of attracts not the best quality type of person,
Yeah.
and you have to deal with, crime and things of that nature, which is just it's not the best quality of life. So
Um I that's why I really like Laramie is because this is
we're gonna get a guest appearance from the
yes, probably soon.
podcast.
Um is like there's no gang violence here or anything.
Yeah.
You know what our highest crime statistic is?
Off the top of my head, drugs?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
All right. What is it?
Bicycle thefts.
Well, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then our second one is like drunk crimes, like
Yeah.
DUIs and drunk in public and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I've living in Long Beach, I had my fair share of bikes stolen, unfortunately. That's crazy though here. That's wild.
We have a lot of people that like the mountain bike and stuff, so we have like a lot of high end bikes here.
And there's probably like an underground syndicate,
Yeah.
like a black market, bike trade and stuff.
Yeah. I got out of the crime when I was like my sophomore year of college. So like
Yeah.
not really running with those rapscallions anymore.
Good for you, man.
I stay in the underground.
Yeah, yeah.
And by that I mean my basement.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's yeah, it was, it's my first time here, and you were kind of showing me around before, and explaining your studio setup, and I definitely admire it. Fellow, I used to produce and stuff, and you got a cool setup down here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very I try to bring in the rustic, with the barn paneling
Yeah.
and making it feel homey, a creative space.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely. I think probably any creative relates. It's hard to do it if you're not in your own environment, and kind of you got to tap into your own world creatively, and kind of silence everything outside. And you've done a great job of that.
You hear that? You hear that, folks? We're doing it, killing it productions. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
So let's get into you. Let's deep dive into Zander. Okay.
Yeah.
Zander. Where does that name come from? Is it biblical?
Uh, no, I don't. Well, I haven't done my fair share of Bible studies, but Xander. My name is Alex. So Alex Rodriguez, and
So where does Zander come from?
so I started songwriting. Well, getting into songwriting about 4 years ago, and I, my entire life, or adult life, I should say, is I played professional paintball.
Okay.
Still do. But in that world, they knew me as Alex Rodriguez, A Rod. Obviously, there's the baseball player, and there's all that kind of correlation. So I remember I was thinking, if I'm going to do music, I got to figure out a way to kind of stand out a little bit, and have a unique moniker. Because if you Google Alex Rodriguez, I mean, unless you say paintball, I'm not going to come up. It's going to be
Right.
and all that. So,
Yeah.
I started thinking of different names and whatnot, and yeah, one day just kind of started thinking about Xander, started playing around with it a little bit, and yeah, I did a couple shows, just like pickup shows, and went under that moniker, and it did all right. So just you know, figured out, as a stage name, it's like, all right, we'll do that.
You know who else's name is Zander?
Um, Off the top of my head, no.
Vin Diesel and Triple X.
I never got into those. I never really watched the Vin Diesel movies. I've always been aware of it. I've always seen like the Fast and Furious stuff and whatnot, and I'm aware of Triple X, but
Well, this is a Fast and the Furious, also Triple X eccentric show, so this isn't gonna go well.
oh man, oh man.
It's okay.
I've watched. Yeah, I mean, I've watched bits and pieces, and I mean, crazy. They yeah, they're cool stories. They definitely like they bring you in quickly. There's a reason why they're so like very popular.
I was really depressed, like maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, right?
Yeah,
And they have 6 Fast and the Furious on one of the streaming services. I think it's HBO Max,
yeah,
and I just watched them.
yeah,
I just like laid on my couch and just watched them. Like, okay, because
yeah,
like the best one is Tokyo Drift
yeah.
for sure.
Actually, yeah, I did watch that when I was younger. That was pretty good. The
Yeah,
soundtrack was dope too.
yeah,
I remember the soundtrack was pretty sweet.
yeah. Okay, so Xander, that's okay. So that's how we got on that tangent. So your first name is Alex.
Yeah,
What's your middle name?
Russell.
Okay.
So yeah, I toyed around with the idea of like Alex Russell, but that to me kind of comes across as like I feel like that would be a movie.
Mm,
Like if you were an actor, that's like an actor name,
yeah,
you know. Just didn't have I don't know, it just didn't really resonate with me.
yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Malapert Merc. You type that into Google, and the only thing that comes up.
And there's something to be said about that. Especially once you're getting going, if you're able to kind of stand out in a way to where if people want to like check out your art or listen to your music or just, kind of dig deeper,
Yeah.
having something that's unique, I think helps, you know, navigate all the noise online.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's hard to cut through the mix.
Yeah. Same thing with my hip hop name, Flawed Motif.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you put that in, I'm the only thing that pops up.
Yep.
So
Good
I
thing.
I do pretty well at the names for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because my previous name was Squid's Killing It.
Yeah.
And even then, I was the only thing that popped up.
Dude, I feel like if I would have saw that on SoundCloud back in like 2010, 2011, I would have clicked on it.
Yeah, that's where it started, man.
Yeah. Shout out SoundCloud.
Shout out SoundCloud for sure.
I had to dig back into SoundCloud about a month ago because I just finished my record and I was if you're going to submit to certain online publications,
Mhm.
they don't want like Dropbox links or Google Drive,
Mhm.
so they said like SoundCloud and other things, and I'm like, all right, well, and it's been about 10 years since I've even like visited SoundCloud, so I had to make a SoundCloud account and then upload it and make a private link and stuff. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh man, this is cool. Kind of a little bit of a throwback.
Yeah, well, after they went bankrupt, they the people that bought it kind of brought it up to date.
Yeah.
So now they do like distribution and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I was getting hit with ads like crazy, like SoundCloud Pro and all that. I'm like, maybe if I was doing hip hop or, some type of production stuff, I'd get back into it. But I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't know how many songwriter America or Americana country artists are blowing up on SoundCloud.
You'd be surprised, man.
I
There's a
probably
lot of people that still use SoundCloud.
really,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm usually pushing the Spotify, I guess Bandcamp now. And yeah,
Spit on Spotify, man.
I agree. I agree. It's not it's a very interesting thing. It's yeah, it's a crazy that we live in a world to where, yeah, you have so much accessibility and you can kind of listen and check out whatever you want. But
Mhm.
as far as, from a creative, I guess business point of view, it's a very one-sided um, partnership.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody uses it. I use Tidal for my streaming service because
Nice.
they pay a little bit more
Yeah.
than Spotify, as well as like everything that I like on my phone goes to my turntables. So
Plus the high fidelity. That's,
yeah,
if you spend time and you're an audiophile, like Tidal is definitely the way to go.
yeah. And a lot of people don't know about Tidal,
Yeah.
It's just Spotify just with um their marketing campaign just took over the space, right?
When, and we could probably talk for hours about this, but, we're just kind of living in a very fast driven consumer type of market and world right now to where it's just instant hits of dopamine, quick. Let me hear it. If I like it, whatever, it doesn't really matter. I think fidelity isn't really, if you ask the average person, what they think of how something sounds, it kind of all sounds the same to them. But,
Right.
somebody who works on music, spends their life listening and, creating and, refining, like for me, just, when anybody ever sends me an MP3, I'm like, I want to hear the wave.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Colossus. I don't really care if it's gonna bog down all my storage space. Like if you spent time working on something, like I want to hear it at its highest quality.
Hmm.
Because it translates. And I mean, I used to, even the whole thing of analog and digital,
Hmm.
it's two different the ways the packets of information travel. Like I over the last year and recording my record and really, you know, recording through high-end preamps and, actually using rack units as opposed to plugins,
Hmm.
I went from as a guitarist using digital modelers and everything like that and, kind of in the box mixing stuff when I was at home to now like, I have all analog gear, pedals, even my home studio, I switched from Universal Audio to man, what's that company? Apogee, just because the digital converters are better. I got a 1176 compressor, like a
Hmm.
rack compressor, and then I go through like a Neve Rupert Neve Designs preamp just because the warmth and just how it tracks,
Hmm.
it's just funny if you look at it like I still use Fab Filter because I just like the RTA and just like where you can see like all the EQ curves and stuff.
Yeah.
When I used to track digitally, you just have all these excess packets of information. And then once I started really tracking analog or as close to analog as I possibly could, you just see everything is just smoother.
Hmm.
Like, where everything lives in the frequency space is just so, you know, nice.
Yeah.
So when it comes to EQing, instead of having to really, you know, slice and be surgical, it's like, oh, cool. Like, it's just building a little here. Let's just duck it a bit and you're good to go.
Yeah. Well, I think when I get in my new studio space, I'll probably try to start moving more towards analog because I've noticed a lot of bigger producers, like they have analog for a lot of their stuff, but
Yeah.
they're still digital on other things because you can't really do things like that with synthesizers and stuff, right?
Right. And I mean, yeah, I've been in studios where, yeah, this whole room and, your other room as well are just filled with analog synths from like the 80s and stuff. And, it's, yeah, it's a tough thing to do. So obviously there's a marriage between, I think, the two worlds,
Yeah.
digital and analog, but,
I will say digital synths, right? Because you
yeah,
you can route the analog synths to wherever you want, right?
yeah,
Before it goes into the computer. But digital synths, because I do primarily EDM music, is
yeah.
a little bit tougher. But
Yeah, speaking of plugins and stuff like Arturia, those are my favorite synths when I was, producing a little bit. They do a really good job of getting close to like, original, you know, um, like original actual, analog synths and stuff.
mhm.
It's really, really close. But
How old are you?
I am 33, turned 34 in October. Yeah.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, getting up there, man.
Yeah.
Getting up there. It's like,
Ready to kick it, huh?
dude, I'm ready to, yeah. I swear, man. Yeah. It's there's something yeah, when as you start getting older, when I hit 30, I'm like, this is it. It's all over now. And really it's been in certain ways, like, my 30s so far, it's been great. It's like your 20s, but you know better. But the thing is, yeah, I value sleep. I value quiet time. Like I'm cool with just hanging by myself. Like I don't like if people are like, "Oh, let's go out and party." It's like, y'all have fun.
Yeah.
You guys have a good time. And yeah, I just value sleep a lot more now.
Yeah. I usually don't go out until like if there's a show at the Duck or something on like a Friday,
Yeah.
I'll go on a Friday, but
How cool is the duck, man?
it's pretty cool.
Oh man, yeah, I'm about a week and a half into my tour, and I had some things happen to where I had to kind of play scramble ball to book some gigs, and luckily my buddies from New Mexico, kind of crossing paths, and I'm like, hey, where are you guys going to be at? And they're like, oh, we're going to be in Laramie, and I'm like, well, I got to go to Colorado. I got this Friday off, and they're like, heck yeah, man, let's get together. So yeah, my buddies from the Hooks and the Huckleberries invited me out to open for them last night at the Duck, and yeah, I was didn't know what to expect. It just came in. It was super cool, man. Super cool environment, super cool people, and yeah, it's just fun show.
Yeah. I really like it. Jade and Sean and Aaron, shout out guys. They've done a great job at cultivating an open space for creatives and stuff. I've seen so many different shows there and different types of shows there that it doesn't really get boring there on the weekends, you know.
Yeah, well, especially if you have variety and right being right off the 80,
Mhm.
right? So it's kind of you have a lot of people passing through, on that highway, and it's like if you have a spot that's just friendly to artists and creatives, and has a bunch of different styles of show, it keeps it fresh, and
Yeah.
as a musician that is touring, it's really nice when you can just kind of pop into town. It's like, oh, cool, and then you have people there that appreciate music.
Mhm.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah. That's that's another thing that they do there well is like people that expect to go to the Duck, they're they love music and they just go to shows,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
So,
that's this is my first time to Wyoming, and it's always like, yeah, I just released my record. I'm about to play for people that don't know who I am, and
mhm,
then after your set, people buying the vinyl, buying shirts, just talking, listening to your music, and it's you can't ask for more, So it's yeah, it was a good first night in Laramie.
yeah, yeah, they like that's what's really cool about that place too, is that it's very personal, you know? There's not like a barrier or anything for the stage, right? And it's not like way up there or anything.
Right.
Like you're with the people pretty much.
You're there. Yeah, you're as much a part of the band. Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Give me some spoons, dude. I'll do some awesome stuff with spoons.
Yeah, man. I was listening. You're showing me a track earlier, and I was digging it, man. It's cool. I've done podcasts before, in different, for like paintball and stuff, but not too many for music. So having like a fellow musician, and somebody who produces, there's a lot of commonalities. So it's cool that there's a similar language, I guess you could say. You
Yeah.
know, so
Music is the universal language. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter if you speak the language.
yeah.
You can feel the emotion that the artist is trying to convey and things like that. So
True. Then so more of a, as a fellow, I would say musical nerd, we can geek out on like, talking about like plugins and, the creative process in that regard. So it's cool.
yeah, speaking about the creative process, where do you find your inspiration? Like, where do you get your inspiration from?
Um, I mean, really, it's kind of anything at this point. It could be a conversation. It could be just a sign on the freeway. It could be, just drifting in your thoughts. I think it's ever present. I used to, I'm actually in very I kind of go through these phases of being like hyper creative and then, just kind of refining and then performing and then just like it's almost cyclical for me to where I'll get to a point where it's very, I guess, very ripe in a sense to where it's like it's really easy to write, it's easy to gather inspiration and stuff. And then you get to a point where it's like you kind of tap into it and then it's like refining and editing and just getting into where it's like a finished piece of work. And then after that, then it's like putting it out there and whatnot. And then usually when it's like for example, like this last year, I cut my first record in Oklahoma about a year ago. It was just, probably 3 years of writing and just different things that we kind of consolidated into 11 songs. And then, at that point, it was about 6 months of like final tracking, putting all the instrumentation together, and then just all the mixing and mastering and getting those on paper. And then once that was done, I was probably back in December. Then it was okay, how to, like artwork, formatting, getting it out to the world, performing it, kind of making it to where it's like, okay, this is the piece of work. How do we get it out to people? And that's kind of been this whole last year or, this whole year leading up to this point. It's all right, well, how do we prep it to where once it's ready to go, then it's like, all right, get that stage. And you can be creative in that sense, but for me, like it kind of completely shut off writing and, you know, doing all that stuff. And now that the record's out in the world, it's like, cool. All right. You have to, I guess be proactive on social media and all that stuff. And yep. Yep.
I hate content creation. So there's three banes of my existence. Okay.
Yeah.
One, vocal processing. Okay. Hate it. I
Yeah.
hate my voice. So vocal processing. One, color grading in video. Just hate it.
Yeah.
And then three, content creation.
Yeah.
I can promote other people all day.
Yeah.
Promoting yourself is tough.
It's a tough thing because how old are you?
34.
You're 34. All right. So yeah, I forgot somebody in Salt Lake. I met somebody in Salt Lake and we were talking about this. And oh yeah, it was Alec from a band called the Pickpockets. They're bluegrass
Shout out
band.
Alec.
Yeah, and I'd met him and we kind of jammed a bit and stuff. And we were talking about I guess today's age, and he was I'm really bad with the whole generation, like millennial, Gen Z, whatever. And I
Mhm.
guess we're millennials, but we kind of grew up where we didn't have like a iPad or a phone, until probably our late teens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we got introduced to technology, and I guess we got to use it, right as it was coming out. But we also had a sense of like what it was like before then.
Hmm.
So there's a big separation, and for me, um, I grew up listening to records, and you kind of have this idea like, oh yeah, the record companies do all that stuff and whatnot, and then you start getting into the age of TikTok, and it's like this new thing to where I guess it was like video games to our parents, like, oh, I don't really get this, but I guess we'll tap into it or whatever. But um, you have a whole generation that is very, very equipped and adept at like being able to use it. And like to me, I just the deeper I get into this, I want to be authentic to myself and really, channel that. And I haven't really found a way to, create content that feels authentic on a regular basis.
Right.
Obviously you have to do posts. I try to do videos and stuff to kind of showcase things, but for me as an artist, I really want to focus on the art side of things.
Right.
So the TikTok algorithms and all that thing is something I'm trying to equip myself to understand more,
Hmm.
but it's not the deeper I'm getting into this, there's still like an old school approach of like, okay, I'll post, what I feel like I need to, but I'd rather hop in a truck and drive 6,000 miles across the US and just meet people and
Yeah.
play shows to actually develop those human connections because, online it's so surface deep and you're putting all this effort into like a little cheap thing of synthetic dopamine. to where it's like you're scrolling through your Instagram, you're scrolling through TikTok, and it's like, oh man, I'm only, I'm hanging on for 15, 20 seconds, and then I'm on to the next one. And it's like, oh, this is cool. Next. This is cool.
Yeah,
Next. And it's like,
the attention span of people anymore, man,
yeah,
has
it's
been
just,
trained to be like squirrels.
yeah, and it's just, it's so much. And it's just as, for me and like this process of releasing an album that, we put so much time and care into to where it's like, I have to synthesize that into 15 to 30-second things to be able to put out into the world. Hopefully somebody's like, oh, that's cool. Let me click on his link in bio. Let me then go to whatever streaming service I'm going to, or his website, or his YouTube, or whatever, just to have that be a door to open when,
Mhm.
like, to me, I haven't, there might have been one or two people, three people that I come across. Like, I come across so many talented people, but like to actually deep dive, I don't get that connection. That's just me personally online. You know what I mean?
They said that to be a successful artist, you need to have as little clickable things as possible. You just need to have that. If, even clicking once to most people is like a chore,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
what? Because I do deep dives on people and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'll click as many doors as I need to get to. Like my computer has so many different viruses on it right now,
Are
like
you still
so,
using LimeWire, or what are you
oh
doing?
yeah, hell yeah. I got the bootleg LimeWire, so it's even worse.
Oh man, dude, because yeah, because LimeWire, FrostWire,
Yep.
all the stuff,
All the wires.
all the wires.
Yeah. Speaking of the wire, have you watched the show?
Oh man, this last year I have gone into complete just tunnel vision, bringing this record to life, and haven't really. I mean, these next few days, I kid you not, are like the most. It's the most time that I have to where I'm not doing. I mean, I'm still going to be working and stuff, but I got a couple days to actually like relax,
Decompress.
decompress, man. It's
So
been,
one of the best things you could do on this time right now is they have Fast and the Furious 1 through 6 on.
I don't know, man. I at some point I'll have to deep dive that, but I'm in unknown territory. I'm in Laramie. It seems like beautiful country. I think I gotta. I'm really big on nature.
Oh
I
yeah.
love being outside. I love the air. I love
Good
just
thing
like
you're in the studio right now. We're taking it
we're
in.
taking it in. We're taking it in. Yeah.
So when did you start getting into music? How old were you? You like, I want to play music.
Oh man, I think subconsciously since I could remember, my first memory is I just remember like music was different. Like it was just a sonic thing that just I gravitated to. I think when I was like 8, 9 years old, my stepdad had like a piano and stuff, and I would just like fiddle around on it, and like I'd just pick things out by ear and just kind of you know play them. I would say pick them out, but no, you don't pick a piano. um,
Tickle the ivories a little.
right? And so yeah, I would just also I would always listen to music, and just there's something about it. And then watched the movie School of Rock when I was in fifth, sixth grade or whatever it was. And then
Classic. Shout out Jack Black.
yep, yeah, that was instrumental in my musical journey.
Okay.
And
Did you start with the guitar or did you, I mean, you said you played the piano a little bit, but
yeah, I did about 6 months on the bass guitar, and
okay.
then switched over to guitar. We in middle school had like a two-piece band, and I had a bass guitar, and it was just a drummer, and I had a fuzz pedal, and we were just fucking making noise. And then I'm like, I want to get into guitar, and then started yeah, picked up the guitar, became a tablature warrior,
Mhm.
because I have a good ear, and I never studied music or anything of that nature. So I would just get the tabs, and then I would just like put two and two together. So a lot of Green Day, Blink 182,
Hell yeah.
that kind of stuff. And then
Do you have the time?
exactly, exactly, exactly.
That was a really good album.
Yeah,
Dookie, was it?
Dookie,
Yeah.
incredible. Dookie, yeah, that's definitely rooted in my DNA for sure.
Yeah, same. I remember in like the mid 90s, listening to Dookie playing Road Rash on the SNES. Like
Uh,
core memory right there.
oh yeah. Yeah, man, that was the soundtrack to my early teens, and just kind of finding music, and even out the gate, it was very. I had a very broad music, broad arrangement of musical inspiration. I remember when I first, started making a little money, and I could go to like the record store, buy CDs. I think the first CD I ever bought with my own money was Meteora Theory, or Meteora, Linkin Park, because it was Hybrid Theory. That was the one before Meteora. Yeah, so Meteora by Linkin Park was my first CD that I bought. And then I went to a record store in Phoenix, and I bought, let's see, Master of Puppets,
Hell yeah.
Deep Purple Greatest Hits, and then Sabbath. Forgot what Sabbath. I think it was their first like big album. Um, and then I think I bought. It was either Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, Blink 182, or Enema of the State.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of in that sense. So I was definitely deep into that, and then I realized coming into the computer age, I'm like, I was big on Yahoo Music and the music videos, and then did you ever watch Fuse TV?
Mhm.
Yeah, so Fuse, it was back when it was like 24 hours of music videos and stuff. So
Yeah.
that kind of curated a lot, and then
I used to watch Fuse because they had like BMX videos and stuff on it.
nice,
Yeah, so
nice,
that's kind of where I got it. And
yeah,
then a lot of my music, because I have an older brother who's 5 years older than me.
yeah,
So like he was my blooded brother, and we well he kind of set a lot of my early music stuff. So
yeah,
being 5 years older, right, he was listening to Dookie, and he had a pretty decent range of music also.
yeah,
But those BMX videos were because of him, right?
yeah.
And those soundtracks for like those people doing the BMX stuff, that's where a lot of my music came from.
I bet it's kind of similar for me, but more skate videos. Like
Mm,
like all the skate mixtapes back in the
hmm.
day. Like yeah, that all the underground hip hop, like Nujabes and instrumental stuff. Like yeah, all the, and even Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
dude.
I still listen to Superman,
Hmm.
Goldfinger.
Hmm.
Good. Yeah, they're on the playlist, dude.
Yeah, I mean, core memories, right?
Mm-hmm. Sell Out by Real Big Fish. That's why I
Yeah.
started playing the trumpet,
Oh heck yeah,
because I was like, I want to play a song like that.
yeah,
And then I got really into like big band
yeah,
with like the muted trumpet and stuff
yeah,
like that. Swing dancing, jazz. Got
yep,
really into that for a while. Like, because when we moved to Wyoming, my older brother stayed in California,
yeah,
so I didn't really have that music influence anymore because we didn't really talk that much during that time. So I kind of just did trumpet stuff,
yeah.
and I played trumpet for about 9 years.
Oh sweet,
So it's actually right there, like the trumpet that I
nice,
started with.
nice.
And from there, I played guitar and piano and drums and all that kind of stuff. So that did you have a song that you had that were like, I like this song, I want to learn how to play this song, and I want to learn how to play this instrument because of that song?
Hmm. Man, there's been so many. I'm trying to think back on um like the one that I'm like, I gotta get this down.
That song, it's like do 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 do
One.
do
Yeah.
do do do.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely, after Guitar Hero. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
gotta learn that. But I would
So not that one by
not that
Metallica.
one.
No, oh,
Not that
okay.
one. I really think it was American Idiot. I think because I listened to Dookie and stuff, and I was playing along, but then like um the music, it was like YouTube or Yahoo Music at the time, and I was just going through like different music videos. Then American Idiot just it hit, and I was like, yep. And then just and even the guitar solo, I think that's the first guitar solo I ever learned. dun da 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 dun 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 bam ba da 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 dun 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 ba da 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 da. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so learn that and yeah, just kind of was navigating and then, I got into like acoustic music, like that whole emo. I wouldn't say like super
Like
emo,
Death
but
Cab for Cutie type stuff.
yeah. Death Cab for Cutie, red jumpsuit apparatus, just very nasally,
Yeah.
whiny
Yeah.
sad boy
Cool.
stuff. And
Cool. Cool. Cool.
but then after I don't know, just weirdly enough, I listened to a John Mayer song when I was like 14, 15, 16, somewhere around that area. And it hit me some completely different because my dad had always shown me great music, like obviously like Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and even like really cool folk blues guys, Robert Johnson, Mississippi John Hurt. And I remember listening to all that stuff, and I felt different, but I never chased it.
Mm.
And then for whatever reason, I heard slow dancing in a burning room. It's just like the guitar riff. It was like, oh, this is different. And then from there, that just opened up my entire world to music. I started studying theory. I wanted to like really navigate and be able to compose and like understand, like, instead of relying on tablature,
Hmm.
how to connect what I was hearing to like how to view music. And yeah, that really got my journey started and really got into blues, jazz, soul, R&B. I mean, everything, like
Okay.
everything. Had a, couple year stint with like reggae when I was living in California, like Revolution, newer, SoCal reggae, and then tracing that back to like a lot of the old Jamaican, where kind of Jamaican music where it originated, so like ska and
Hell yeah.
some dub and all that whatnot, and kind of tracing back to the roots because that's as I've gotten older, I've realized whatever genre, like let's say listening to something that's contemporary, I think it's important, especially if you want to appreciate that music, is you go back to the roots. You want to see what inspired it, where it came from,
Hmm.
and then kind of fast forwarding now to where as a songwriter, because I've been writing songs for about 4 years, maybe 5 years, and getting into country music, like to me it was listening to Marty Robbins, like that hit me like a freight train when I moved, like, are you familiar with Marty Robbins?
Not much.
So Marty Robbins, have you played Fallout?
Hmm.
So like there's a lot of his music on Fallout, or not Fallout, but Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
So like just Western music,
Mhm.
stuff like El Paso, Big Iron. Like you probably heard to the town of Agua Fria rode a stranger one fine day.
Mm.
Like just a lot of old cowboy music, and that opened it up to like Glenn Campbell, John Hartford, all this classic stuff.
This will be the third week in a row that I've had people that have drawn inspiration from older country artists.
Well, I mean, I really think that's the way you should do it
And
because
I'm tired of it, actually. I'm not even going to release this episode. We're just doing it for funsies now. All right.
no, man, I think in anything, it's just like even like you listen. I didn't really get big into like the history of EDM, but like for hip hop and stuff, like if you're not going back and if you're not listening to like NWA, if you're not listening to Wu Tang, if you're not listening to like Dre's old productions, I think you're doing a disservice because everything that you listen to now, you can get inspired by your contemporaries,
Mhm.
but to really understand the verbiage of any type of genre, like you got to go back, you got to deep dive. And then I feel like if you listen to classic music, that's where all the great artists get their inspirations from,
Mhm.
and like, a lot of big songwriters, like, that inspire me that are contemporaries, I would say, like Tyler Childers, Evan Felker of Turnpike Troubadours, they're students of John Prine, things of like, the 70s and 80s. And then you listen to that and it's like, oh, you can hear how, the Bird Hunters, is inspired, very closely to, Paradise by
Mhm.
John Prine. And then you start to see it's like, oh, okay. So then it just kind of helps you, I guess, really formulate, in a sense, at least for me and a lot of other songwriters that I know, of just developing your own voice that's kind of rooted in something that's accessible to others. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I do think that the history. I actually had a conversation last night at the Ranger because one of my other friends had a band that was playing at the Ranger last night,
yeah,
and I got to talking to this guy who, because we do open mic poetry here and stuff, and I write poetry and stuff. So
nice.
this guy just started coming to poetry and whatnot, and I started writing poetry to kind of help with my hip hop, you know. So I feel like if I can do it spoken word, then
Yeah.
it'd be better as a song, right?
Well, I mean, you have to be familiar with Kendrick Lamar,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you listen to his early stuff, and I mean anything he does, he's a poet.
Mm-hmm.
He's a poet, and that's, I mean, that's been huge for songwriters as well. Like if you can break it down to just prose,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then um then it's just melodic phrasing, rhythm, all that stuff. And
Pretty much.
yeah.
I am gonna get some hate for this statement, but it's okay because I'm used to it. I'm not a Kendrick Lamar fan, actually.
Of recent stuff or just overall?
Just overall, really.
Okay.
Yeah. When I started listening to him in like 2010, 2011.
Okay. So that was like a couple years before Good Kid, Mad City.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like Section 80, I think.
I didn't really like, I don't know. I don't really like his voice, for
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And for two, I didn't really like his rhyme schemes or similes or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, I was really more of like a Hobson fan
Okay.
and
Yeah.
like J. Cole and stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. So I don't. It's nothing against him personally. Like I'm sure he's a good person or whatever, but I don't really like even when people are like, "Are you Drake or J. Cole recently?" Like last year and stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
neither actually. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
like either one of them.
Well, I think that's important as a creative, is that you need to have a hill that you stand on.
Hmm.
And it's not like you're trashing on other people. It's just some things don't resonate. And I
Hmm.
don't think you don't need to pander to people,
Right.
that, I think it's important to develop your tastes, what you
Hmm.
like, because that's what develops you.
Hmm.
And, as an artist myself, like I don't expect anybody to like me. I would hope so. But
Right.
like, I want to be able to stand on a hill, create what I create as authentic as possible. And
Hmm.
if it attracts people, those are the people that I want to play for. Like
Right.
I would rather, you know, I think there's something to be said about just invoking a reaction, whether it's completely positive or negative. Like when you have absolutes instead of this middle ground,
Hmm.
I would like to be able to do that, you
They
know.
say that a lot of good artists, that's what happens. You have people that love them or people that hate them.
Yeah.
Artists that are like in the middle, that are like people don't love or hate, they don't go anywhere.
Yeah. And that's, I think as I'm developing deeper into my journey, I think it's a matter of really tapping into being as authentic as possible. Because, as you start developing as an artist, you're trying things out. And I'm still at the point where, like, I don't have it all figured out.
Mhm.
There's things that I want to try, there's things that I want to do. And, even on like the first record that I made, like that was a lot of those songs were just coping with heartache
Mhm.
and trying to find my voice. Not only my singing voice, but my songwriting,
Mhm.
and it was just kind of seeing like, okay, well, let's put this together. And, it's cool to see that it's out in the world now and people are listening to it and enjoying it. But it's like where I'm at now as an artist,
Mhm.
a year later, the songs that I've written and just the way that I sing these songs and the way that I present it, night and day different from when I first got in the studio.
Yeah.
And I think that's just any artist as you start going along. It's just, your tastes change, you grow as a person, all these things happen. And I really think that if you tap in that, like one person, for example, right? Tyler Childers.
Mhm.
I don't know how familiar you are with him, but when
Goes to the grindstone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like when, he started really kind of blowing up 27, 16, 17,
Mhm.
and then those two records that he dropped, the names are escaping me right now, but those really brought him into the forefront,
Mhm.
right, of that whole I don't even know what you musical genres really confuse me now. It's really
Yeah.
hard to pinpoint because I listen to him and I'm like, okay, songwriter, bluegrass, country, roots music. But people want to say he's alt country. It was this, that. I don't know anymore.
Right.
But for him, he got into the limelight and now, he's not really releasing music. He's
Hmm.
a great songwriter and the stuff that he's doing, like he did the instrumental fiddle album. He did his most recent one was kind of like it's cool because I listen to it. I'm like, okay, there's elements of soul, there's funk, like there's all these cool things on it. And his last album was 7 songs that were like remixed and I guess, imagined
Hmm.
7 times. And a lot of people, are kind of hating on him. Like if you see the thing posts up on Facebook about Tyler Childers, and then you look at the comments, and you know, you just you see everything that you see. But
Do you read the comments?
yeah, yeah. I'm that guy that's scrolling on TikTok and you see the video, and you're like, you click on the comments, you're just because I mean,
Well,
there's
no, I mean like your own personal comments. Like when people comment on your stuff, do you read those?
yeah, I mean, obviously, especially if you're, I'm at the point now where like digitally, it's like you're checking analytics and all that stuff.
Hmm.
It's things that I'd rather not do, but I think it's important to kind of there is a lane to navigate is to where it's like, oh, you want to see I'm at the point where I want people to listen to my music, and I want to see what's resonating with the people that do appreciate my music,
Right.
you know. So there's that thing, this kind of goes against what I was just saying because I'm still developing my voice. But if I was just an artist that was just solely, indulging myself,
Hmm.
I would be in my basement making music all the time and not releasing it.
Yeah.
But for me,
Now you know what it's like being here right now.
dude, trust me. When I used to produce, I used to just days on end, man, days on end. I don't get a chance to do that anymore. But where I'm at now is like I want to indulge myself, but at the same time, what I've realized music for me and the relationship that I have with it is that it's something I feel that I've been gifted an opportunity to be able to take my experiences, make a song out of them, and then share it with people and have it resonate with people. That
Hmm.
didn't really hit me until I really started playing a lot of my songs out and just being more of an original artist because I started doing covers just to get gigs and just
Hmm.
get the chops up and stuff. Then started writing and then releasing music, and then all of a sudden you get somebody who hits you up at 3 in the morning and messages you and it's like, hey man, I was going through a really really tough time and I just listened to your song and man, like it just resonated with me and it just helped me.
Hmm.
And then you start, yeah, then that starts happening more and more. And
That's awesome.
you start to realize that
Your art is worth it.
well, it's not meant to be so self-indulgent to where I think that you have to tap into whatever's bugging you at the moment or like on your mind. But then you realize that once you craft it and create it, when you release it to the world, the best thing you could hope for as an artist is that it becomes somebody else's song,
Mm.
you know?
Right.
Because think about it, like, Dookie, all these things that inspired us that we listen to,
Hmm.
as a creative, you deep dive the artist because you want to figure out more about them,
Yeah.
right? You want to understand their processes so then you can apply it to yourself.
Hmm.
Generally speaking, though, you don't really care about the person.
Right.
It's like, you're not really tripping about what they're doing in their life.
Hmm.
You're just kind of taking from them.
Yeah.
You're taking what they put out and you're applying it, whether it's a song, it becomes yours. Maybe it navigates, a heartbreak. It navigates a great time in your life,
Hmm.
those become the soundtracks to your life.
Yeah. I I'm very musically I share music that I feel like um I resonate with, right? And
Yeah.
I have a playlist, like it's called my depression playlist, right?
Yeah.
And it starts out like super depressed, but as it goes on, it gets like more uplifting and things like that.
Yeah.
And just the amount of times that I've listened to that playlist to kind of pull me out of places, that is where that's why I started creating music, is to potentially get people to listen to them, connect with them, and be able to use that as some form of therapy.
Yeah.
When I made my first EP as Flawed Motif, it's called My Grievances. And the title track for the EP is called My Grievances, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really My Grievances is exactly what it is, right? Like I had friends quit talking to me. I had my fiance at the time left. Like I had all this stuff. And I'm in this spot right now where I'm like, should I take that down or should I keep it up to show people the progression, right? And so it's tough.
Was that rhetorical, or would you like me to chime in on that?
I'll give you a second here in a minute. Last night I was at that gig that my friends did at the Ranger,
Yeah.
and this girl came up to me and she was like, "Hey, that song, My Grievances that you did, like, I listen to it all the time. Especially like if I'm driving in the car and I'm thinking about stuff, like that song just comes on and I have to listen to the whole thing."
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, shit.
Shit. Exactly. Shit. You know, uh, yeah, dude, I can relate to that fully. You know, when I first started releasing music, I listen to it now and I'm like, man, I want to take it down so bad. But then you have people that make those comments and you're like, all right, well, that is what it is. And I think that the more work that you put out and the refinements and stuff, it's all part of the musical journey.
Right.
You know,
Because they have artists now that come out and their shit is polished, right?
yeah,
And like they don't show necessarily that progression. Like Ed Sheeran, for example, when he started releasing a lot of his music, it was just good, right?
yeah.
And I remember he did an interview on like Jimmy Fallon or something, and
Yep,
he was like,
yep,
"This is like what it sounded like when I started,"
yeah.
and it was just horrible, right?
But you know, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down. It's just you know, when you start getting into major label artists and stuff, it's just like the development and like how they portray, you know, like there's a whole system. Like that a whole thing is systematic of, you know, because he was never independent, or at least when
Hmm.
he was, nothing that we've ever really had access to. When you're force fed things, and we're in a different day and age now, you still have, you know, the Dua Lipas, the Ed Sheerans, the
Right.
Beyonces. You have that whole tier of artists, but like we're also in the age of independent artistry to where I think you're more in tune with that, to where it's like you go to somebody's catalog and it's like, yeah, if you listen to something from 2022 compared to 2024, 25, you see the growth
Hmm.
because it's like you didn't sign with a label. You didn't have a coach who was like, okay, you know, we're going to be doing this with you. You know, because all those artists for the most part are developed, regardless of how authentic it may seem. Like you have
Hmm.
a whole team of people that are there to create this brand, this image of this artist. Like
Right.
when you think of an artist like Ed Sheeran, you get a picture in your head and you automatically understand it.
Hmm.
Beyonce, all these people, you have this thing to where you understand it right away, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Any successful brand, you're able to associate with something right away. But you know, artists, myself included, that it's just developing. You don't have a team, you're all by yourself, you're doing this. And there's a lot of like throwing something against the wall, see if it sticks, and you
Yeah.
know, seeing what happens, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I really have gravitated towards like independent artists and like underground hip hop artists
Yeah.
because a lot of the times their sound is how they are, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have that because when you are talking about these major label artists, they have a vocal engineer, they have drums engineers, they have like melody engineers, right? That are just
Yeah.
putting all this work into this one thing
Yeah.
that just takes so much. And people like myself who are I do all of that myself, right? I'm poor, so I can't afford that kind of stuff.
So, and that's how I started as well. You know, you know, we're kind of talking, it's like DIY, you know, like
Hmm.
I am experienced in recording and mixing and, you know, mastering and vocal editing and doing all that stuff. And then I realized that I got to a point where I was staying busy enough and I had people that believed in me, and I wanted to make the next step. So what I did is I reached out to my favorite band's producer, of Turnpike.
Okay.
He's like produced, recorded them, engineered for them since like 2009. Cold email. I'm like, hey, I got this song. I would love to get mixed. Would you be, because I wanted to step up.
Hmm.
Like I kind of identified that I would rather be the performing songwriter artist than, the all encompassing person,
Hmm.
because I wanted to just focus on that. And I just realized, okay, well, I want to really focus on this. I only have so much time in the day. I only have so many resources. Like,
Yeah.
who can I work with that could help bring this to reality? So I
Hmm.
reached out to him, talked to him on the phone for about 3 hours, so many commonalities and like, I guess common interests. And, he mixed it. I was really happy with the mix that he did. He mixed two more songs, and then I was like, "Hey, man, I got a bunch of music. You think we could cut a record?" And he's like, "Yeah." Wasn't that there was a lot more,
Right.
talk
Yeah.
about it,
Right.
but that's basically what we got to, where we got to, and then it was like, okay, so I drove out to the studio in Oklahoma, and then 4 days, we tracked 11 songs basically, and I got to use Turnpike's drummer and their steel player and stuff. So I
That's cool.
outsourced,
Yeah.
and I got to work with people that I've always dreamed of, and it was expensive, yeah, but I feel like I got what I paid for. But ultimately, what I learned when you start getting into those environments, right, with people
Hmm.
that specialize in this thing,
Yeah.
I took that. It was like almost a seminar of education as well,
Hmm.
you know,
Collaboration is one of the best things in music, right?
especially with people that are masters of their craft.
Hmm.
You know, I think if you can constantly be the least talented, or the least experienced person in the room, you're
Hmm.
doing yourself a favor,
Right.
because it's just so important, especially for your growth. Like, if you're at the top of your game and you're not learning or you're not challenging yourself, you just kind of stay stagnant.
Yep.
But if you're always in this thing to where there's people that are better than you, um, or more experienced, I should say, that's how you grow and that's
Hmm.
how you learn.
Yep. I completely agree. Um that's what I liked about the Stay Hazardous crew when they came down and did like they had like 7 DJs here
Nice.
that like they all produce EDM and stuff like that, and just talking to them and having that creative community was different because I don't really have that here, right? I know some producers in Laramie, but none of them are putting in the time and the effort that I am, right?
Yeah.
So I'm usually the one teaching them stuff, which is fine and everything. Like I like doing that too. Um, I teach independent artists how to be independent artists with like signing up with PROs, creating LLCs to collect royalties, setting up bank accounts, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but having that collaboration, even for the few days that we're here, was like very uplifting.
It's uplifting and it's motivating and it's inspiring. And that's where, we were talking about it before. Like, yeah, sometimes you got to get up and get going,
Hmm.
and you have to find a way to surround yourself with that constantly. Cause imagine that hit of inspiration for those couple days and just being around them and just, learning and being able to, mix it up with them.
Right.
Imagine if you lived in a town where there's 30 of those people
Yeah.
and you have those outlets to where day in and day out, like, you are shedding, you are grinding, you are in that energy.
Yeah.
That's where it goes from like this slow taper up to where it's like boom, you're there.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's those 4 days in the studio, and then just the last year of just sending mixes back, tracking vocals at home,
Hmm.
doing things under the gun of like the pressure of like, we got to make this record, and it has, you start to see where it goes and like the potentiality of how it can sound. And if you're not there,
Right.
then it's like that pressure really puts it on you to step up to the occasion,
Hmm.
and yeah, you just kind of have to throw yourself in the fire, especially with, really good people at the
I've
helm.
been told recently that I'm the best producer in Laramie by a few separate people
Yeah.
that are like in the like acoustic music scene and some electronic music scene stuff, right? And I was just like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But we've come to that part in our show, man, where do you do improv comedy at all?
No, I mean, it's very conversational. If something just kind of comes out and it's funny, it's cool. I cannot, for the life of me, consciously throw out a joke.
Perfect. So I want you to think of the place, or you can think of the character. I'll think of the place to put this character. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
And you can. You have to create their own backstory and stuff. We won't talk about it, but you just have to create this character. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'll create my own other character. Okay. And so you have to be able to act that out. So
Yeah.
I'll give you some time. Just give me a couple seconds. I'm sure you guys hear my dog squeaking in the back. She's a mess.
This is either going to be brilliant or a train wreck. I'm just forewarning you. And I'm leaning more towards the train wreck and mostly just on my end, but
yeah, it's okay. It's just something that I started doing recently because I love throwing people in the fire.
All right.
And so here you are.
Let's burn.
Okay. So I have the setting of Mardi Gras, Bourbon Street, Louisiana.
Okay.
And you are?
I'm a tourist passing through.
Okay. And your name is?
Billy.
Billy. Okay. Billy, tourist pass. Where are you from though? Where are you from passing through?
I am from man, dang it. I don't know. Let's just say I'm from Florida.
You're from Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't really have a Florida accent, so I mean, you got to have a Florida accent if you're going to be from Florida.
I don't know if I've been to Florida quite a bit. Like, are we talking like rural Florida to where people?
I don't know. You tell me, bro. You're the one that you're creating this backstory.
I feel like if I start doing an accent and all that.
Okay, I'm a barkeep. You have to do an accent, actually.
Man, then I'm just I don't want to offend anybody from a certain area because you know what I mean. Because I feel like if I really tap in, then I'm probably just like I don't know how. Yeah.
Stereotypical.
Yeah.
It's not even a racism thing though. So
no, it's not. I'm not even talking about racism, but I'm just like, man, if I act like I'm somebody from
it's comedy, dude. It's satire. Okay.
I get that. I get that under the guise of satire and stuff. I'm also early enough in my career to where if somebody, I don't want to get canceled. You know what I mean?
They're gonna cancel you for having a Florida accent.
Yeah. Well, we're going off the cuff right now, and if I just say something and it's taken out of context, it's like things are on the internet nowadays. Like that's the last
yeah,
thing.
but this isn't live, so I could cut it.
Yeah, but what's the fun in that?
Exactly.
What's the fun?
Okay, so we're Bourbon Street. I'm a barkeep. Okay, you stroll in and you say, "Man, it's hot out there," because it's about 12 p.m. Okay, so
man, it's hot out there.
What brings you?
Barkeep.
I could try to do a Louisiana accent, but I mostly just feel like it will be stereotypical.
Exactly,
so
right.
I'm gonna do it.
Send it.
Yeah. Okay.
Send it.
All right. What brings you in from outside then?
Just trying to get out of the Florida heat.
The Florida heat. This is Louisiana though.
Yeah, I didn't think it through.
Yeah, evidently. You should be used to the humidity. What you want?
I want to listen to some good music and see, that's the tough part, man. I don't even drink anymore. So I feel like I could.
We do mocktails here.
You do mocktails?
You want to do a mocktail?
Yeah, let's do a mocktail.
Okay, what kind of mocktail you want?
Oh man, let's get what are those called? What would you even get?
All right, here's a sex on the beach. There you go. Here's a very delicious sex on. I do my own signature sex on the beach, and guess what?
Guess what?
What? There's actually some human fluids in there.
That's disgusting.
You like it. You like it. I
don't know.
People like it.
I'm not gonna drink it.
People like it. You're not gonna. You have to drink it.
No.
Actually.
Are you holding a gun to my head and I gotta drink this?
Yes. As well as doors locked.
Doors
locked. You're in here. You have to taste it. You have to tell me how much you like it. It's actually my fluids.
Yeah, you're shooting me. You're shooting me.
Come on, you just gotta take one drink. Just one, a tiny sip.
Dude, no universe is that happening.
You gotta. No. Do you want me to tell you what kind of fluid? I can tell you what kind of fluid. It might make it a little bit better.
I'd rather not.
Might make it a little worse.
That's probably gonna make it worse.
You think?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's sex on the beach. So what kind of fluid do you think is in there?
I mean, you're not painting a good picture.
Okay. You're not good. Okay. Well, I mean, all right. Well, I'll unlock the door. It actually wasn't locked. The deadbolt's actually just more of a sound thing. You could have escaped at any time, but it's all right. It's all right. You don't need to.
And then the cameras come out, and Ashton Kutcher's like, "You've been pranked."
Welcome, you're on Punked, actually.
Yeah.
So you didn't drink the sex on the beach.
Fuck no, I didn't.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, that's probably best. It was actually it wasn't human fluid, so you would have been okay. I just call it that because
To be fair, so like if the roles were reversed and you
Mhm.
were in my shoes, what would you do?
I drank it.
Fucking A, you are adventurous.
Yeah, you gotta try it at least a little bit.
Yeah.
At least a little bit. You gotta, because it was a slushy tot. It was a slushy tot sex on the beach.
To be fair, if somebody,
'Cause it's hot outside.
yeah, if somebody,
Marketing.
yeah, if somebody like, if somebody prefaced that, yeah, that would probably be, I'd be out of that bar real quick.
I
Yeah.
mean, you should have read the sign before you came in because it said, specialty drinks.
Yeah, when I think specialty drinks, I think of like, if they, like set fire to the drink or like there's like a cool whiskey concoction kind of a deal,
Right.
but not anything of the human fluid.
Okay, well, here's a rum and coke, and we'll put it on the house on this one, as well as there's no rum in there.
Yeah.
Well, there's rum in there, but it's not alcoholic rum. So take a swig of that. Tell me what you think.
Man,
What does it taste like?
I would imagine a rum and coke.
Okay, so where does it take you back to? What does it taste like? Taste it. You gotta drink it. You gotta make the sound and everything. Like it's a drink.
Oh man, it's been a while since I drank, so I'm recalling the memories. Dude, whenever I think of like rum and coke, and I just think about like high school, like going into the fucking going into the stepdad's liquor pantry,
Yeah.
fucking just slamming.
So what's this rum and coke taste like?
Tastes like a rum and coke.
It tastes like a rum and coke.
Yeah.
Guess what? There was human fluids in that too.
Shit.
Yeah, you drank it. Got him. Got him. Okay, well, that was your journey. Actually, it's not on the house either. You're gonna owe me $14 for that.
Yeah.
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 So,
The board of liquor is gonna be
yeah.
coming in real quick.
All right, people, we got to the next part of our show because that was the improvised comedy part, and now we have the part that gets a little bit deeper. What's your definition of success?
I've actually been thinking about that lately because I've been fortunate in life that I've been successful with things that I've set out to do, and you start to realize that it's not really the end goal,
Mhm.
like accomplishment, right?
Mhm.
Like that's just kind of that's a result, but
Mhm.
it's the journey, not the destination kind of a deal, which, cliches are cliche for a reason. At this point, I think there's tiers of success.
Mm.
I don't think there's like an end all. I mean, I would say the end all thing would be monetarily comfortable to be able to support a family and be with somebody that I care about to raise a family,
Mm.
in an environment that is conducive to just general good good quality of living.
Okay.
I mean, that's all subjective, right? There's
Mhm.
different things of that nature. Right now, my vision of success is the ability to have as many people listen to my album as possible that enjoy it. That allows me the ability to travel to play shows in new areas, and also develop more of a relationship with people that enjoy my music.
Mm.
I would like to be able to get on more like touring bills,
Mhm.
like kind of make the steps to, being able to, if I come to Laramie, Wyoming, pack out, a house, like a show here, sell enough tickets, where, makes, you know, the business sense, business side of things, makes sense. So, um, yeah, I would say, the next step in everything is just, um, having people listen to my album. Once they listen to it, I hope that they like it. If they do like it, then it gets to a point where, in a live environment, I can travel and be able to play for them and, develop, like I said, more of a connection with people that enjoy the music.
Okay.
And then I think, in theory, what that leads to is the ability to get to travel more, play bigger rooms, bigger shows, be able to really make it a um, you know you step up in your career, because at the end of it, it is the music business, right?
Yeah.
um, you have at least, if you want to try to make this a livelihood, you have to make it a point to where it's viable, not only to support yourself, because the world revolves around, business in a sense. If you want to have a house and you want to have
Mhm.
security and you want to have these things, you have to be able to generate income.
Right.
Then if you do that through art, then that has to be its own certain thing. So ultimately, yeah, it's like it's this weird thing of, you have the artistic side and development and the relationships that you have with people, which I think are paramount. It's an extremely, I think for me, that's what I get the most gratification out of. But, you also have to have the business sense and understanding how to navigate that in order to make it a livelihood, to be
Right.
able to, um, not only keep a roof over your head, but also make money for the people that are employing you,
Hmm.
the venues.
Yep.
Whether, yeah, like at the end of it, if you to make it in this business, you have to make other people more money than you make for yourself.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
that's and that's just, I think that's just the nature of it. And you can look at that as a positive thing or a negative thing. But ultimately, if you can figure out a way to where you can support yourself and make the people around you happy,
Yep.
ideally, that's a good thing.
Okay. Do you dream when you sleep?
Sometimes, man, when I used to, yeah, when I used to like smoke weed, do melatonin substances, I felt like I would dream a lot more.
Mm.
Now, since yeah, I can't really recall any dreams as of late. I feel like when I fall asleep, it's like I just sleep.
Mhm.
Like I'm so busy during the day. Um,
Dang it.
did,
Yep.
did, did we just get cut out?
No, the camera did. Just keep talking.
Yeah. Um, yeah, what's it called? Yeah, my days are so involved that if I do dream, I don't I don't recall them.
Yeah, I get that. Can you remember the last dream? Can you remember the last dream that you had that you do remember though?
Hmm. Not the last one, but I mean, I've had standout dreams. Like I've had dreams that you can, kind of stick with you, which is still a cool thing, I think.
Yeah. Um, that is pretty cool. I have vivid dreams every night. Like last night, I had a dream. So I frequent the Duck, right?
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
bartender of the Duck, he's my business
But
partner.
by the way,
Mhm,
something happened when you sit down or sat down. The left side of my cans
mhm.
went out, so I don't know if something got flipped to where it's only there we go. Yep, cool.
Okay. So like he's a good friend of mine, right?
Yeah,
And we're both single dudes, right?
yeah.
And like um I had a dream last night that because if he tells me that he likes somebody, like I don't hit on that person or anything like
Yeah.
that, right?
I think that's a good friend though.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I think that's the normal. It should be normal.
It should be normal, but it's not.
Yeah.
Especially in small town shit, right? It's
Well, yeah,
you don't lose your girlfriend, you lose your turn.
actually, that's one of the song. That's a line in the song that I'm recording
Oh,
in a
really?
couple weeks. So actually, I'm getting super phasey right now. Like I'm getting,
Dude, what are you doing to my stuff?
I don't know. There it is. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely hear you. Like now, it's good.
Okay.
But yeah,
Weird.
yeah,
So you had a line in one of your songs.
yeah. It's actually called "Merry-Go-Round." It's about dating in
Okay.
a small town.
Mm,
And I think that, yeah. So lyrics are like, "You won't find forever in this small town corner bar. You might share a story, but you won't share your heart. You won't share your heart.
okay.
You won't lose your girl. You'll just lose your turn because she ain't one to wait for a cigarette to burn. In this town, there ain't no love. It's just on to the next one. In this town, there ain't no love because she's living on the run. In this town, there ain't no love. There's always someone waiting. This good old town is just a merry-go-round."
Okay. Yeah. So like I had a dream and I was like was like, dude, I have to meet women outside of the duck from now on because like
Yeah.
you told me you like so many of these people, and I like I'm very charismatic. I'm a very like talkative person, so like getting a girl to like me is not the issue, right?
Yeah.
Getting a girl to stay with me, that's kind of the issue.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I think that's just the problem with everybody, right? Um, but yeah, in this dream, like he was mad at me because I was hitting on a girl that he told me he liked, I
Yeah.
guess at some point in time during this whole dream thing. And I was like, dude, you told me you like so many people here. Like, what am I supposed to do?
So, I mean, that brings me back to a time I used to be roommates. We used to live, when I was living in Huntington Beach, we had like I would say like kind of a party house. We had
Mhm.
like two couples that lived there, and then I lived there, and another single guy lived there. And I mean, we always, yeah, I mean, it was good times. A lot of people passing through, and no shortage of
Mhm.
relationships or fun or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um, but I actually do think there's degrees to it because if you have a friend, and this is going off your dream, so it's not really based in reality, but there is a reality to it because I've experienced it with people, is that there's a difference between if you establish some type of connection with somebody and it's reciprocated, then as a friend, you should let that person be.
Mhm.
Now, if you have the friend who kind of fawns over a
Mhm.
girl or a
Yeah.
woman, and I mean, I don't know, I haven't thought about this in years. I'm in my 30s right now, so we're
Right.
going back to my 20s. But
Yeah.
if you got a friend that is just like doughy eyed, super crushy on a girl that they don't have any type of thing, and she doesn't reciprocate.
Mhm.
But like, let's say I don't know, you meet this girl, woman, and there's a connection there,
Mhm.
and she's showing interest, and you have interest. Like, I think that your friend should have the emotional understanding that like if he shot his shot or hasn't shot his shot, but she's not showing any interest in the guy or
Mhm.
whatever, like you can't be shitty about that.
Right.
To have I think that certain people have this weird expectation or like this claim. Like
Right.
nobody has claim over another human being.
Right.
Like it's just if two people come together and decide to do something, that's a choice. At either
Mhm.
point, they can, exit out.
Right.
I do think that I mean, there's no absolutes, there's shades gray and everything, but like I think that if you do, it all depends on the relationship that you're just like trying to define.
Right.
It's like a matter of like, are you in this for the long run? And if you're in for the long run, then it's just like anything. You got to work to make it better, over time.
Mhm.
But if you say that you care about somebody, that's a whole messy deal. And I mean, we've all experienced, how things can go south,
Yeah.
in a heartbeat. Um, and
Yeah.
it's not easy, but
Yeah.
I guess without getting too deep and into that into that rabbit hole, if you're in a small town, realistically, yeah, you're probably gonna have an Eskimo brother or two,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Uh,
Or yeah, I don't know. It all depends on what you're looking for and going for. For a while I was like really tripped up on wanting to find somebody and being like, yeah, this is the one. I don't The way I look at it now is like you attract what you attract. Um, you just define what you're looking for. If you're looking for something for the night, you know,
yeah.
go find it. If you're I feel like I'm at a point right now where it's just I'm so caught up in what I'm doing. If I
Yeah.
get to share an experience with somebody, cool. If not, I'm on. It's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's
I
really tough.
I've I've been more so moving into that space there too. Because I was like I said, I was with the same girl for 17 years. So like
That's heavy, man. That's heavy.
yeah. And that ended in catastrophe. Horrible, horrible catastrophe. But
Yeah,
not so much for her, more so for me. But
yeah.
it is what it is at this point in time. Like I've healed enough now that it just doesn't fucking matter to me anymore.
And I think emotionally, it'll lead you to the point wherever it leads you, and that's the journey we walk in life.
Yeah.
And I think that at least what I've gained out of my I don't even want to say failed relationships. You know, a failed relationship, I guess, has an end goal, but like if you look at it as a learning experience, it's not really a failure. You know,
Yeah, that's what people say.
no, but I mean, but I think it's true because the thing is, like, no relationship, no human's perfect, and if you
Hmm.
can take the good from that experience and know that's what you're looking for,
Yeah.
but then also realize what the bad things were, not only from her but from yourself,
Hmm.
then when the right person might come around, you're better prepared and equipped to, deal with that.
That reminds me of um my song that I have coming out called Nobody Better. Okay. So it starts because 2024, like I said, train wreck. Um, that's when she decided to leave, was January of 2024.
Yeah,
And so from that point, like 2024 to 2025, like it was all just focusing on myself and learning about the bad, why it was bad. And like I did a lot of internal soul searching.
yeah,
And so I have these lyrics that are people didn't understand when I came back with a plan. I left them all saying, man, how do you come back from a rock bottom like that? I took accountability with the problems I had. I needed to separate the good from the bad. And I consciously made the choice to be great. So I kept going and I cannot stop. I leave them surprised when they thought they knew the plot. I don't give a damn if I'm the one they choose or not because I know I'm hot. From the music to the lyrics I jot. It seems like a lot, but my trajectory's going past astronauts. It's a miracle that I kept it all together, but then I realized there's nobody better because there's nobody better than myself, right?
yeah,
So putting that work into myself to realize that that was a lot
yeah.
because I used to be like really insecure, you know? So coming out of that place to where I am now is complete 180, right?
Yeah, and that's it. I think that's just the journey of life. You know, it's just the more competitive you are with yourself as
Hmm.
opposed to external things.
Yep.
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
And just realizing that everything's internal, and the more that you go in is, you know, the more that you go inward usually affects how everything outward, you know,
Right.
appears. It's, perspective or, I don't really we could get super existential, but again, that's ours.
Yeah.
Um, but just simply put, your input creates your output.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for your time and your energy, man. Tell the
Yeah.
people where they can find you.
If you guys are interested after like last 2 hours of checking out my music, you can go to zanderrodriguez.com. It's definitely yeah, I think you guys will enjoy it. I just released my first record, Two Hearts, 2 weeks ago. And currently in the middle of a 6 week tour that started in California, went through Salt Lake, Laramie, last night, going to Colorado what is today, Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Middle of next week, going to Colorado and then Oklahoma, and then taking a break for paintball stuff, then flying back through Oklahoma, Texas, and then back to Arizona. And yeah, life on the road makes your brain not work sometimes.
Hell yeah.
So,
Uh,
but yeah, zanderrodriguez.com. I'm on all the services, streaming deals, and all that stuff. So,
cool.
yeah.
Well, you guys know his links will be in the description below, the YouTube video, audio. Can't really put links in there yet. So that's just not the way they do it on the audio side. But ZanderRodriguez.com. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Yeah, wave bye to the people. And smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Perfect.
Hell yeah, man.